Charles Sobhraj. The name sends chills down your spine, man. Known as the Serpent and the Bikini Killer, his life is a chilling tale of manipulation, charm, and cold-blooded crime. Born in Saigon in 1944, his early life was messy. The streets of Saigon were bustling, a city in flux, and young Charles was right in the middle of it. His parents split up, and he had a rough childhood bouncing between Vietnam and France. This constant upheaval left him feeling rootless and abandoned. He was a child caught between two worlds, never fully belonging to either. This instability messed him up. He struggled to find his place, and this inner turmoil began to manifest in troubling ways. He was in and out of trouble with the law as a teenager. Petty thefts, minor scams, these were just the beginning. Each brush with the law only seemed to embolden him. Petty crimes escalated, and he ended up in prison in Paris for burglary. But prison wasn't a deterrent for Sobhraj. It was a training ground. Little did the world know, this was just the beginning for the man who would become the Serpent. His time behind bars was spent honing his skills, learning the art of manipulation and deceit. Prison didn't rehabilitate Sobhraj, it sharpened him. He spent hours studying law books, learning the ins and outs of the legal system, preparing for the life of crime that lay ahead. He learned to manipulate people, becoming a master manipulator. He could read people like books, understanding their desires, fears, and weaknesses. He knew how to read people, find their weaknesses, and exploit them. This psychological insight made him a formidable con artist, able to gain the trust of almost anyone he met. This skill, combined with his undeniable charm, would become his deadliest weapon. He could charm his way into the lives of unsuspecting victims, only to betray them when they least expected it. He was a chameleon, blending in, gaining trust, and then striking when his victims least expected it. His ability to adapt and disguise himself made him nearly impossible to catch, a ghost in the criminal underworld. Sobhraj's criminal activities spanned continents. He traveled extensively, using multiple identities, and forged documents to evade capture. From Asia to Europe, his trail of deceit and murder left authorities baffled and victims devastated. Despite numerous close calls with the law, Sobhraj's cunning and resourcefulness kept him one step ahead. He was always calculating, always planning his next move, a true predator in every sense of the word. As the years went by, his crimes became more audacious, his methods more refined. He was no longer just a petty thief. He had evolved into a sophisticated and ruthless killer. Eventually, his luck ran out. The law finally caught up with him, and he faced justice for his heinous crimes. But even in captivity, his story continues to fascinate and terrify, a grim reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind a charming smile. Charles Sobhraj's legacy is a chilling testament to the power of manipulation and the depths of human depravity. His story serves as a cautionary tale, a dark chapter in the annals of criminal history. By the early 1970s, Sobhraj was on the move. He traveled across Asia, leaving a trail of bodies in his wake. Thailand, India, Nepal, he was everywhere, man. He preyed on young Western tourists, drawn to the allure of the hippie trail. They were looking for adventure, for spiritual enlightenment, and they found the Serpent instead. He offered them shelter, friendship, even love, all part of his twisted game. His crimes weren't random acts of violence. They were calculated and cold-blooded. He would befriend his victims, gain their trust, and then rob them, often drugging them unconscious first. But robbery wasn't enough. He started killing, and the body count grew. Sobhraj was a master manipulator, a man who could weave a web of deceit with alarming ease. A cunning predator who knew how to charm his prey, he was adept at reading people and understanding their vulnerabilities. His charm was his weapon, and he wielded it with precision. He was good-looking, spoke several languages, and exuded an air of sophistication that drew people in. His appearance and demeanor were meticulously crafted to disarm suspicion and create a sense of trust. He would befriend young travelers, offering them a place to stay, free drugs, or help navigating the unfamiliar world they were exploring. His offers seemed generous, almost too good to be true, and they often were. He would introduce them to his girlfriend, Marie-André Leclerc, who became complicit in his crimes. Together, they formed a deadly duo, with Marie-André playing the role of the supportive partner, further lulling their victims into a false sense of security. Once he had his victims under his spell, he would strike. The transition from charming host to ruthless predator was swift and terrifying. He would drug their food or drinks, robbing them while they were unconscious. The drugs he used were potent, ensuring that his victims were completely incapacitated and unable to resist. Sometimes, he would force them to surrender their passports and cash, using their trust to further exploit them. The loss of their identification and money left them stranded and vulnerable, completely at his mercy. He controlled their every move, turning their dream adventure into a living nightmare. The fear and helplessness of his victims were palpable, as they realized too late the true nature of the man they had trusted. Sobhraj's reign of terror left a trail of devastated lives, each story a testament to his cunning and cruelty. His ability to manipulate and destroy was unparalleled, making him one of the most notorious criminals of his time. The world eventually caught up with him, but the scars he left on his victims and their families would never fully heal. His story serves as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind a charming facade. Even behind bars, Sobhraj's legacy of manipulation and evil continues to haunt those who crossed his path. His name remains synonymous with deceit and terror, a dark chapter in the annals of crime history. The exact number of Sobhraj's victims remains unknown. Authorities suspect he killed at least 12 people, but the true number could be much higher. He targeted young Westerners, often travelers on a shoestring budget. He saw them as easy targets, vulnerable and trusting in a foreign land. Their deaths were brutal. He would often drug them with sedatives or poison, sometimes drowning them to make it look like an accident. He disposed of their bodies with chilling efficiency, often burning them or dumping them in rivers. He left a trail of grief and unanswered questions across Asia. Section 5. Poison and Deceit. The Serpent's Deadly Tools. In the shadowy world of international crime, few figures are as notorious as Charles Sobhraj, often referred to as the Serpent. His moniker was well-earned as he slithered through the underbelly of society, leaving a trail of victims in his wake. Sobhraj was a master of deception, using a combination of charm, manipulation, and cold-blooded violence to carry out his crimes. His ability to switch between a friendly demeanor and a menacing presence made him unpredictable and dangerous. He could be the life of the party one moment and a cold-blooded predator the next. He was skilled at blending in, adopting different identities, and posing as a gem dealer or drug smuggler to gain the trust of his victims. His chameleon-like ability to change his appearance and persona allowed him to infiltrate various social circles with ease. Whether he was donning a business suit or casual attire, Sobhraj always knew how to play the part convincingly. He used their own desires against them, exploiting their thirst for adventure or their naivety to lure them into his web of deceit. Tourists, eager to explore new cultures and experiences, were often his prime targets. He would offer them assistance, companionship, or even a sense of security, only to betray them when they least expected it. Poison became one of his preferred weapons. It was a silent and insidious method, allowing him to incapacitate his victims without raising suspicion. The use of poison gave him control over life and death, a power he wielded with chilling precision. He had a working knowledge of drugs and toxins, often using sedatives to incapacitate his victims. His understanding of pharmacology and toxicology was not just rudimentary, it was sophisticated enough to make him a formidable adversary. He knew which substances would render his victims unconscious and which would leave no trace. He would slip them into their food or drinks, rendering them helpless and unable to fight back. This method allowed him to operate in plain sight, often in crowded places where no one would suspect foul play. The victims, unaware of the danger, would consume the tainted food or drink, sealing their fate. His methods were calculated and ruthless, designed to ensure his victims never saw it coming. Sobhraj's cold, calculating eyes would scan his surroundings, always planning his next move. The shock and confusion on his victims' faces were a testament to his cunning. As they collapsed, he would walk away, blending back into the shadows, leaving no trace of his presence. Section 6. The Serpent Slips Away. A History of Escapes. Sobhraj was as slippery as his nickname suggests. He was arrested multiple times but always seemed to find a way to escape. He was a master of disguise, using fake passports and aliases to evade authorities. He bribed his way out of trouble, using his ill-gotten gains to buy his freedom. His most daring escape was from a prison in India in 1976. He drugged the guards during a staged birthday party, walking out of prison with ease. He was recaptured shortly after, but managed to escape again while awaiting trial. His ability to slip through the cracks of the justice system earned him a reputation as a cunning and elusive criminal. Section 7. Exploiting the gaps, the Serpent's international game. Sobhraj's crimes spanned multiple countries, highlighting the weaknesses in international law enforcement at the time. He exploited the lack of communication and coordination between different countries' police forces, moving freely across borders to stay one step ahead of the law. He used his knowledge of different legal systems to his advantage, playing one country off against another. He was a master manipulator, using his charm and intelligence to exploit bureaucratic loopholes and corrupt officials. He knew how to play the game, using the system's weaknesses to his advantage. His crimes exposed the vulnerabilities of a world struggling to keep up with the increasing globalization of crime. Section 8. The Serpent's Legacy, Infamy and Media Portrayal. Charles Sobhraj became a global sensation, his crimes captivating the world. He was dubbed the Serpent for his cunning and his ability to slither away from justice. His story was tailor-made for Hollywood, a chilling blend of true crime and international intrigue. Books, documentaries, and even a Netflix series have attempted to unravel the enigma of Charles Sobhraj. He has become a figure of morbid fascination, his crimes a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of paradise. His story serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder to be wary of those who prey on the kindness of